All right, so now that you've got some survey data, you're probably chomping at the bit to be able to visualize that data and then run some statistics to find out what was the total surveyed length, what was the total surveyed depth, and then hopefully eventually get that data over into an application like Illustrator or Inkscape so you can begin building your map. So now I am going to introduce you to Compass Cave Survey software, where you can do all that and a whole lot more. Now, there's a handful of different survey applications out there, and I would encourage you to explore them to find out which one you think is best for you. For me, though, I've settled on Compass just because in my mind, it's a little more intuitive and easy to use, and it's a pretty powerful software as well. There's a lot of things you can do in terms of processing the cave data, analyzing it, and then visualizing it, and ultimately getting that data out so you can begin building your map. The downside for me is that I am a Mac user and Compass is a Windows-only software. So you would need to either put Windows on your Mac or get a really inexpensive PC somewhere out there and install just so you can use Compass. But it is a very powerful, super cool software. So I'm going to show you first of all where you get that software, and then we'll go into setting up your very first file, and then we'll pause, give you a break, and then we'll jump back into entering data and moving on from there. So to get Compass, just go into Google and search for Compass Cave Survey. That'll pull up the Fountainware website, so you'll click on that. And Compass Cave Survey software is a, let's see, what do they call it? Shareware software. So you can download this, use it for free, and if you decide that you're going to use it, like this is something you're really going to use, then I would encourage you to be honest and pay the $25 or $50. It's super minimal cost so that you can use the software on a more permanent basis. The developer is operating on a sort of a trust-based system. So try it out, see if you like it, and then pay for it if you do like it and you're going to use it. So to get Compass, once you come to the website, you click on Getting Compass. And right here is where you download all the files. There are lots of different softwares besides just Compass, and I think it's like $50 to get the entire package and download all that. But again, like I said, you can download it all for free and try it out. And then right here is where you would pay. So you click right there to download Compass, the sort of the basic package, and here are all the other really cool things. I'm not going to get into all these, but we will throughout this series go through maybe a couple of the other applications that are here. But for now, just download Compass, install it like you would any other application, and then you should be good to go. So we'll minimize that, and we'll go ahead to begin. Open the Project Manager, which I've added to my, what's this called? Taskbar, is that what it's called? Taskbar, okay, yep. Sorry, bouncing between a Mac and a PC all the time. All right, so you've got the Project Manager opened. To begin, you're going to create a file, and the Project Manager is where you organize your cave survey files. So to create a new survey file, you're going to go to File, come down here, and you've got a couple of different options. You got the option to create an empty project, and you got an option to create a new survey file. Let me explain the difference between these two. So a project is sort of a container that allows you to have multiple survey files contained within that. The reason why you would want to create a project is because either one, you're working on a massive cave system that's very complicated and is very long. The other would be because you're working on a project where there are several caves within a small geographic region. So for example, we have a project in northern Utah where within probably a 2-mile radius, there's around 100 or so caves. They vary from length to 30 feet to maybe a little over a mile. And if we wanted to connect all those caves together, georeference them, and sort of see how they're behaving in relation to one another, we would organize all of those cave surveys within a single project. So for most cases, most standard size caves, around a mile-ish and shorter, or maybe a little longer than that. I don't think there's any like hard, fast rule. You're going to create a survey, just a single survey file is all that you would need. I'm not sure the exact limitations on these two, the difference between these two, like when you would want to start moving from a single survey file for a single cave to multiple survey files. But you could probably look into the documentation and find out when. But for most standard caves, probably even like 5 miles, a single survey file is probably sufficient. But if you start noticing changes in performance or there's issues, then it's probably about time to move over from a survey to breaking that cave or project into multiple survey files contained within a project. So we're going to begin just by creating a new survey file. And then the name of the first survey. A lot of times people will start the survey with an A survey, then you do B, C, D, or maybe you do like 1.1 and then 1.2 and then 2.1. Whatever you decide to name your survey, you can name it whatever you want. I usually base it on the names of the shots. So I'm going to start with the A survey, or if I finish the survey and I know that this is A, let's say it's A1 to, and you can do a dash or whatever you want to do, to A 30. I could do that as well. Whatever you want to call the first survey, it'll make sense as we go in where that falls. So I give it a name, we hit OK, and then it asks me where I want to save that. I'm going to delete this file later, so I'll just save it on the desktop, call it my super cave, and then we'll hit save. Okay, so there is that DAT file, the survey file, and now it shows up here in the file tree. Now, there's not much of a file tree when you create a single DAT file for a single cave, a single survey file. But if I had the project, I would see all of my caves or all of my like major sections of the cave sort of listed or nested underneath that project file, which I could later connect. So anyway, I've created the DAT file. Good there. Now I need to go in and start setting up the different settings on this DAT file. So to edit the survey file, I click over here to say Edit Cave Survey or File. Click right there. It opens the cave editor. You can see right there. And here is my first survey within this survey file. So a survey file can contain multiple surveys, and ours will. And I'll show you an example here in a little bit. So I've got my first survey in there. And to edit the survey, I can either double click on it right there, or I can click this little edit survey button. So whatever suits your fancy. And that will then take us over into edit heading. Now, if I hadn't clicked on that and I clicked on edit heading, then this would be blank. So if you ever, you've got a survey, you click over here and it's like it's blank. Well, that's probably because you didn't double click here or click edit survey. So once you do that, it loads that survey. We'll give the cave a name, my super cave. There's the name of the survey, which is A1 right now. Is that what I put on the survey name? Yep, A1, or you can call it A or whatever. It doesn't really matter. And then the survey comment, we will call this entrance to super room. And then the name of the survey team, you can change the date here if you'd like. You also have this survey calendar button down here. I can click and say, let's see, the date actually occurred, let's see, on November 2023, on the Saturday the 18th, and hit OK. And now that loads the date right there. Survey team, you can list the names of your survey team members. So we'll call it Bobo. And Bobo did, let's see, sketch or book or whatever I want to call that. And then Jameson did instruments. And then you can list whoever else you want there. Next, you can put the survey declination. So this is important, the magnetic declination, for it to make correct calculations, because if you have one survey 1 year and then 10 years later you do another survey, that declination is going to change. And the system, I believe, accounts for that if you enter the survey declination. So to enter the survey declination, there's a declination calculator right here. You can click on that. You can enter the coordinates of the cave location. It's already got the date back over here when you completed that survey, and then it generates the declination right there. You've also got a world map, and you could move that around, I believe. Let's see. So if I want to say, there's probably some way to click on it. Or at least it'll show you. So the way that I use this map is I'll enter the coordinates, and then if this shows up in the middle of the ocean, like obviously I entered it in the wrong location. If it looks like it's pretty darn close to the location, then I should be good. You could also use a magnetic declination calculator on the web and generate that declination. But if you do it through here and then you hit OK, make sure you get the right WGS84 is probably what you used. Then hit OK. It will automatically input that survey declination. So it's up to you. Use the calculate declination button or go online and find a calculator. The next thing that you'll need to do is adjust how the data or what data fields will exist when you're entering your data. So you can go into edit settings. Right now you can see it's foresight only, doesn't have backsite, and we've got up, down, left, right. I like it to be left, right, up, down when I'm entering my data. So I click here on edit settings, and here it's got the order. So I'm going to do distance and then compass and then inclination. I want this to be left, right, up, down, so I'll select left, go up there, left, and right, up, down. That's in the right order now. And then here is where you can enable backsites. So if you took backsites in the cave, which unless you're doing a ridiculously tiny cave, you probably should be doing backsites, especially if it's a complex cave, then you'll just check this box, and now you've enabled backsites. If you want the backsites if you want to enter the backsites corrected, which basically what that means, non-corrected, just regular backsites, would mean if on your azimuth you entered 0 on the foresight and then the backsite was 180, that's sort of like the normal. But if you're using your instruments or you set up your brick or your Disto X or whatever so that it's correcting it, so 0 would be foresight and 0 would be backsight, then you could check corrected backsites. I think most of us just do regular standard backsites. So you click that, and then you can decide where is the left, right, up, down, what station is that going to be associated with? Because the way that the data is entered, it's associated with a shot. So A1 to A2, well, does it apply to A1 or does it apply to A2? So this is where you tell it what it's going to apply to. And it doesn't, there's no right or wrong answer. You just choose whether it's associated with the first station in the shot or the second station in the shot. And then the last thing we'll look at here in the settings is the units. So this is where you can tell Compass whether you're working in feet or meters. It could be decimal feet, it could be feet and inches, and then also if you have different units on the inclination or the compass. So we can set it to degrees, quads, or grads. In the inclination, we have lots of different options. Here in the length units, we can tell it decimal feet, feet and inches, or meters. And then up, down, left, right, are we doing those in decimal feet, meters, etc. Then we go ahead and hit OK. And now you see that updated right there. So you've got the distance, compass, inclination with the backsites enabled. Now it's left, right, up, down. And at that point, you're mostly good to go. There's a few other things you can adjust here. So we did the survey declination. The next one are the corrections. So if after the fact you realize that your tape that you are using was missing the first 3 inches, you can add a correction on the tape right there. If you realize your compass or your inclinometer were off by a degree or 2, you can add those corrections there and it'll correct the overall survey. Once you've done that, you are ready to enter data now. So to do that, you'll just click on Edit Survey, and we'll begin entering the data. And I'll show you how to do that in the next video. Oh, there's one other thing too that I need to show you. This is really important. Make sure that you go to File and Save Current File. That's your save. There's no file save, it's Save Current File or Save File As. So Save Current File will save everything you've done at this point. You probably want to make sure you do that and not close it and lose everything you entered. So I'm going to save my current file, and I'll see you in the next video.